Creamer Media's Mining Weekly is speaking to Steve Boyens, the managing partner of Pearl Grey Equity Partners. Can you give us some insight into this new incubation fund?
What we're essentially doing is bringing a venture capital sort of concept into the mining space. We had a little bit of a look at the small scale mining space, and it looks a little bit distressed in my opinion with regards to legislation, with regards to a lack of knowledge of really how to access capital, of how to access proper sort of individuals who will provide operational skills. And that's essentially what we're doing. We're going to be skin in the game as well. So what we're essentially doing is working with mining companies, small-scale mining companies, using a bit of our money and being nimble in a way where we are going to source additional funds as well. We're a family investment office, so we're not a big investment company. So using the word nimble again is really just a way for us to enter the mining space, which is profitable. And I mean, this is Africa. It's always been a good industry, and I believe there's a lot of potential.
And if I'm a small miner or a prospective small miner, and I'm trying to organize a prospecting license or a mining license or a water use license, can I come to you and ask for help?
Yeah, sure. So what we'll typically do is we'll actually fund that out of pocket if we believe that your company has potential. And then from there on to sort of realize the operations, we'll go and raise additional funds. Obviously, if you're a company, we'll have to do a good background check in terms of, look, we all know the reputation of small-scale mining and the sort of theft that's going on, just to be direct. So we'll obviously do a background check, and then we'll sort of look at your expertise. So expertise in terms of, do you have the qualification or do you have exposure to previous projects? But also there needs to be a potential for value add. So if you've got all the expertise in the world, how are we going to add value? So expertise in terms of being up to standard, but also expertise where we can still add value, come in, bring in the right individuals, bring in a little bit of capital, and really amplify your company.
What sort of metals and minerals will be the best that you want? Is there sort of a range of metals and minerals that you really are keen on?
So gold at the moment, obviously looking at the market's appetite for equity is driven with gold. If you look at TSX Ventures, which is using a public market index as an example, which illustrates the demand for equity. I mean, most of the companies, you'll get your coal company here and there, but most of the companies are gold companies. And then looking at the mineral itself, looking at gold itself, it's got real scarcity. So it's not something that has elasticity where you'll be easily taken out as a company, and it's got a future. It's not something like coal where there are doubts about where energy is going. It'll always have scarcity, and there'll always be an appetite for equity in gold. Not being reluctant to move into other projects, but yeah, that's just what we're going for to start off with.
And what mining jurisdictions will you be concentrating on? Are you going to concentrate on South Africa mainly, or is it Africa, or where will your concentration point be?
Yeah, so our incubation fund is pretty much, we're starting off as an incubation fund to test out the waters. Our knowledge is purely financial and looking at assets, and we feel that starting off with just South Africa is the appropriate way to start. Obviously, your different jurisdictions have got different legislation. And there's also the factor of, listen, we need to live in this country. I'd like my children to live in this country one day. So I'd like to contribute to the South African economy.
There is a sort of a new focus on small-scale mining, without doubt, and also a focus on exploration. We've just had a commitment from the department that they will have a comprehensive exploration strategy in place by January next year. So that is a hopeful sign. But of course, having a strategy and then implementing is another thing. So what sort of timing do you think, in your view, is going to get this thrust going? Are there people waiting to be funded?
Yeah, look, good statement regarding having a strategy and actually implementing it, because there have been a host of initiatives that were put forward to really amplify small-scale mining in this country, and it really hasn't happened as yet. So in terms of timeline, I'd say, like as I mentioned, we're still testing the waters. We're still familiarizing ourselves with the industry completely by working with the right companies in mining. And I'd say within the next 3 years, we would have more or less done a robust analysis of whether we'll carry forward listing on, let's say, TSX Ventures, doing a GP/LP raise. We've gotten a lot of inquiries about individuals who like funding, but for us, it's also about picking the correct projects.
The ETC, which is the Economic Transformation Committee of the African National Congress, the ANC, brought out a 30-page discussion document, and in there they say that a small company should be incentivized and encouraged to list on the JSE, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. They're also saying that exploration companies should be incentivized, as happens in other jurisdictions. Now, we've been trying to prompt the JSE. Are they going to be more accommodating of smaller companies like we've seen, you know, with the TSXV in Canada and the AIM in London? Are we going to have some sort of an equivalent here? We haven't really got an answer out of them yet. Do you see any movement on the JSE yet that could accommodate the small scale miner, or will you be looking to list on the TSXV and things like that?
So let's first start off with sort of what the current landscape is, if you'd like to say, with raising public equity. It's very much geared towards blank check raises, meaning that they're raising public capital for companies who aren't producing any revenue, who actually do not have any assets, and that money would be typically put into a interest-bearing account, and the company would have a 2-year window of purchasing assets. Now, this has been very popular in Canada, but you've got to ask the question, and when's the last time that you've seen a successful IPO on the JSE? Sure, there have been blank check raises, but that's been at a very low amount. So I'm not really an advocate for listing on the JSE. I'm rather looking at going towards TSX Ventures, being an actual Canadian company. And I know what the comments are going to be. Comments are going to be, no, you're just a Canadian company looking to steal our resources. But actually, what it allows you to do is, if there are any sort of legislative issues in South Africa, you can take it to the Canadian courts. So that'll resolve that. As you know, there are a lot of sort of issues with crime in small-scale mining that just goes unresolved. Second of all, there's a large appetite for equity. So you'll actually roll out these projects, and you'll actually be paying taxes on these projects. So yeah, that's the way that we see it. Not really looking at JSE at the moment. As I mentioned, we're still testing the waters, and we'll still have to see how the TSX Ventures goes over the next few years, how blank check raises goes over the next few years, and then we'll decide.
And have you got expertise within your company? Have you got people there that can actually assist these small-scale miners, or would they have to bring in other people to assist, or is it a combination of both?
Yeah, sure. So we've got the expertise. The thing is, just if you're looking to list on a foreign exchange, you'll have to have someone local, and you'll need someone on your board that's got adequate mining experience on an operational level. So you'll need to bring that into play. It's also very agile, whether you get accepted or not. So yeah. And just so we typically won't list a company for company. If we go down that route, the reason I mentioned TSX Ventures wasn't really related to listing small-scale companies in the future. It was just to reiterate the fact that there's a high demand in equity for mining projects. And it's a longer-term vision after we've sort of tested the waters and just understand the landscape of South African mining completely. I've got a clear vision of where I want the company to go. I've got a clear strategy. I know where we still need to add to our company. We've received a lot of traction from the likes of pension fund asset allocators out of the UK, from the likes of people who are looking for funding, certain people more credible than others. So traction is definitely something we've received.
You have launched an incubation fund in an attempt to be the driving force, you say, behind the resurgence of the local mining sector. Can you just give us more insight into that?
Yeah, sure. So strategy is fairly simple. We are looking for operational companies in the mining industry, and we're looking to partner with them as a financing partner who will essentially provide them access to capital. And we're looking at sort of just getting companies to do things the right way. There's been a lot of issues with theft in artisanal mining, illegal mining, and we're just looking to essentially set up an infrastructure in South Africa which just allows for everybody to do things correctly with adequate amount of capital and having the right individuals being provided with opportunities. Obviously looking to bring back that factor of where you have that generational, we have a family who will essentially work in mining over 3 generations. So the granddad, the father, the son all go and work in mining. And it's as though that's sort of not been possible in a lot of communities. So obviously doing good business from our side and also just creating jobs. Contributing to the South African economy.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly, speaking to Steve Boyens, the managing partner of Pearl Grey Equity Partners.